Good evening. My name is Pratiksha Sahasrabudhe, and I am a senior clinical psychologist at Amaha. And today I'm here to talk to you all about managing overthinking. So, a lot of times we have too many things that keep going on around us on a daily basis. We have a lot of thoughts that keep running through our mind. And sometimes, or very often, we find ourselves engaging in these thoughts more than needed or more than required. Anything that we experience that is challenging and difficult, we tend to kind of think a lot about it. We tend to kind of analyze a lot about it, which then causes distress, which then causes a lot of anxiety for us. And this is called overthinking, right? Where we tend to analyze a situation more than needed, building or making worst case scenarios, making us feel anxious and overwhelmed. So today we are all gathered here to talk about how to manage overthinking. And I'm sure that all of us present here have at least once found ourselves overthinking about things and realizing that, hey, what I was thinking about or the amount of time I spent on thinking about a particular thing was not actually needed. So, before we get started with how to manage overthinking and understand and learn very simple tips and strategies, let me ask you all a question. How many of y'all can relate to overthinking? Or how many of you all find yourself overthinking in difficult situations or challenging situations? Feel free to put up your responses in the chat or the Q&A. We'll also have Q&A and discussion section after the end of the presentation, where you all can put up your doubts and concerns. But for any interaction during the session, you can put up your inputs in the chat and we can take that up as a part of a conversation. So yes, how many of you all can relate to an overthinker? How often do you all overthink? Overthinking a lot at work, when we often met with deadlines and we are not able to reach that deadline, or we are not able to perform as fast as we would have wanted to. When somebody scolds us, when we receive, say, kind of negative feedback from people, we tend to overthink, right? So all of us here have engaged into the process of overthinking at least once. It could be with different aspects of our life, but yes, we have been there. So today we are going to talk about understanding overthinking, getting to know what overthinking really means and how it looks like, differentiating between overthinking and problem solving, understanding the impact of overthinking, and then learning how to manage overthinking. So, have you ever found yourself engaging into these following thoughts? My mind just doesn't rest, or my mind just won't stop thinking. I can't think, I can think of the worst thing in every situation. I'm never able to make up my mind, or my mind seems to be against me and it doesn't want me to succeed. How many of you all have found yourself engaging into these kind of thought processes or these kind of self-talk, where we just feel that our mind cannot rest? There are these constant thoughts about a situation, about something that has just happened, or about something that might happen in the future, which we are anticipating for that matter. But we have these conversations with ourselves. Yes. And then it makes us feel emotionally exhausted, mentally tired. We are unable to focus or be more productive, and it impacts everything or every activity we do. So, yes, these are some of the thoughts that we have when we are overthinking. So, some of the most common signs of overthinking is when we find ourselves to excessively monitor, evaluate, and control all types of thought that might come in our mind. Overthinkers tend to usually struggle to let go. uh, we tend to analyze very excessively. Say, for example, I received a message from my manager saying, "Hi, Pratiksha, let's connect for 5 minutes." Oh my God, that message is going to make me feel so anxious. I'm going to over analyze that message for such a long time till the call actually happens with my manager. Thinking about, oh, why did my manager ping me like this? Oh, have I made some mistake? Or did I do something wrong? Or have I screwed up something? What does she want to talk about? Does she have any feedback for me? So too many thoughts, and I'm just imagining the worst case scenario, right? It's that, oh, I'm sure I've messed up something. She's going to give me a good earful today, or maybe is my job at risk? So too many thoughts, jumping to conclusions, thinking about the worst case scenario. We all do that, second guessing what has happened or what might have happened or what may happen on the call, and then difficult to make decisions in the particular situation. As a result of this message, I'm not able to focus on the task that I am supposed to do in that moment. Until the call actually happens, I'm going to engage into this thought process continuously in and out. I'm going to try to read my manager's mind as to what she's thinking, what she's going to say, predict what's going to happen on the call and what are going to be the after effects of the call, and so on. So yes, we tend to struggle to let go. We over analyze things. We second guess. We mind read. We find it difficult to make decisions, and we start predicting the future events in the worst case scenario more often. So these are the most common signs of overthinking, right? Preparing ourselves for the worst case scenario, which may or may not happen. In 90% of the situations, the worst case scenario that we are imagining doesn't happen. And we realize it only after we have engaged into the process of overthinking to realize, hey, that was just not worth it. It was not needed, right? All right. So, what's the difference between overthinking versus problem solving? It's a very subtle line between the two things. So when we talk about overthinking is we spend a lot of time thinking about matters. We focus on what the problem is. We define the problem, and we are constantly thinking about this is the problem. Say, for example, um, my friend did not call me when she told me that she's going to call me at 2 p.m. today. So my problem is now my friend did not call me. Why didn't she call me? Right? Or what is she doing? Or does she doesn't want to talk to me anymore. So my thoughts are going to be focused on the problem that my friend did not call me. Then that increases my distress, my anxiety, makes me feel overwhelmed, and I'm not able to focus on any other task at hand. On the contrary, problem solving outcome is what we look for. We are focused more on the solution rather than the problem. Hey, my friend didn't call me at 2 p.m. Let me drop her a message, or let me give her a call, check in as to what she's doing, or maybe she forgot. So I'm now focusing my attention from just the problem that to what the possible solution to that problem could be. And when I focus on the solution, I feel less helpless. I feel I'm making more progress. It reduces my anxiety and my distress and helps me focus on other things at hand as well. So let's take a quick poll. So I would like request all of you to open menti.com and put in the particular code that is visible on your screen. So I'm going to give you a problem statement, and I want you to give your response to that. So the problem statement is that John had his weekly review meeting with his manager, and his manager had some feedback to give him. So after the meeting, John has been thinking about the feedback, He has been thinking about what are things that he can work on, what are things that he needs to change in order to make the progress that is required. So, what do you think? What is John doing here? Is he overthinking or is he problem solving? Right. So I think we have most of the people responding as problem solving, and that's right. So, what happened in this process is John received some critical feedback. Instead of thinking about what the feedback was, where the feedback was coming from, why did his manager give him such a feedback, and has he been, this has he been that bad at his job, or was this feedback really needed, are things really that worse, does this feedback mean that he's going to lose his job? Instead of doing all of that, he chose to focus on the problem, and he focused on finding solutions of making things better for himself, which means that he was engaging into a process of problem solving rather than overthinking on the feedback that he received. Now, some of the impacts of overthinking. While overthinking is unhealthy, we all know that, and we don't have a lot of control on that, right? It happens very automatically, it happens as a very natural response that we have built for ourselves. But there are certain impacts of overthinking that we definitely should look at. Overthinking can increase our susceptibility to feeling depressed or anxious. So it makes us feel sad, it makes us question our abilities, it impacts our confidence. As a result, we isolate ourselves, we feel tired, we feel low on energy, we are hurt, we are questioning ourselves, which will then eventually lead to anxiety and or depression. It makes us harder to enjoy life. We are not able to think creatively. We are not able to do anything differently, not engaging with activities that we would have enjoyed doing, or meet people around us, socialize, have fun, or just engage into our hobbies for that matter. And it can also lead into unhealthy coping mechanisms where we just isolate ourselves from people, we go into a cocoon, we do not talk, or we can use other unhealthy forms of coping in terms of alcohol consumption or smoking nicotine to help us reduce the stress that comes along with overthinking. So it can impact our mental and our physical health, and then impact all other aspects of our life, let it be our personal care, our interpersonal relationships, or our physical health, or even our professional life. So while we have spoken about understanding what overthinking really means, and what are the different signs of overthinking and how it impacts our life, let's now understand how to manage overthinking. A lot of times we heard people say that, hey, you're just overthinking, just let it go. Or, you're thinking too much. Why don't you just take a break? While we hear this a lot from people around us, we don't really know how to do it, right? But before we go into strategies, before I give you some strategies, I would like to hear from you all. What do each one of you do when you find yourself overthinking? What has helped you manage or cope through overthinking situations? Call out to friends, have a good conversation, doing some breathing exercises, using diverting your mind to do some other activities like listening to music, drawing, engaging into hobbies, reaching out to our mentors, meditating, deep breathing, going for a walk, writing down thoughts. Yes. So a lot of these things do help us manage our overthinking. Sometimes crying, having a good cry, and then going to sleep. So let's see what are some of the very quick strategies. The first and the foremost thing is to cultivate awareness, is to identify your triggers that make you overthink, triggers where you find yourself overthinking the most. It could be either during the daytime or during the nighttime. Very often, we find ourselves thinking too much during the nighttime just before we go to bed, because that's the time where we are more free, where we have more space to think about what has happened through the day or what experiences we have had, and we sit down with our thoughts and then go down the spiral. So it's important to identify the triggers. So very quickly, take out a pen and paper and maybe ask yourself these questions. When do I overthink the most, right? It could be specific situations that you find yourself overthinking at a particular place, at a particular time of the day. So, when do you overthink? And the second question is, what do you overthink about? Right? Do I overthink about the past? Is it the future? Is it my personal goals, my professional goals? Is it about my relationships? Is it about my productivity? It could be anything, or it could be everything, it depending on how you tend to respond. So, two questions for you to reflect and identify your triggers is, when do you overthink and what do you overthink about? Knowing your hotspots or your triggers is helpful, because understanding, it's important to understand, has anything happened recently that pops up in your mind, that keeps reminding you about things more often, that you find yourself preoccupied with. So it's important to understand, know your triggers, know your hotspots, so you're able to manage through them better whenever they happen to occur. The next is practice grounding. Connect with your senses, right? Grounding is a way of bringing you back to the here and the now, in the present moment. So, a lot of time, if you observe, when you're overthinking, you are either overthinking about what has happened in the past, or you're worried about what's going to happen in the future. So, grounding helps us come back to the present moment. And you can do this simple grounding exercise with using your five senses to connect you back to an environment that is neutral and that is in the present moment. So, you can notice what you can see, what you can hear, what you can feel, smell, and taste. You can begin, say, for example, by observing five things that you can see. So, say, for example, there is a bottle that is kept in front of me. So, I'm going to observe the bottle. I'm going to look at it. I'm going to try and notice what is the shape of the bottle, the color of the bottle, the size of the bottle, where in my environment has it been placed. Once I do this with five things I can see, I'll move on to the four things that I can feel, right? So say for example, okay, there is a remote in front of me. So I'm just going to pick it up and then feel it in my palms. So what is the texture of it? What is the temperature? How does it feel? So when I do this with four things that I can feel, I move on to the three things that I can hear, two things that I can smell, and one thing that I can taste. So using my five senses, I try to look at my environment from a very neutral perspective, bringing my thoughts and myself back to the present moment. So it's important that in grounding, you focus on your immediate surroundings rather than being lost in the past or in the future, right? When you begin to notice your environment more closely, you spend less amount of time in your head overthinking and spiraling down your thoughts. The next is, when you engage into overthinking, usually you are in a self-talk with yourself, right? So it's an inner monologue that keeps going in your mind. Hey, did I do some mistake? Did I go somewhere wrong? Have I screwed up this time? What does my manager have to tell me? Or what's going to happen in the future? Is my job still secure? Am I going to lose my job? So this is a conversation that you're having with yourself in your mind, which becomes extremely overwhelming and chaotic after a point of time. So try to self soothe, interrupt your inner monologue. You can self soothe, you can recognize when you get stuck in this kind of a thought process, and try and restore your emotional balance. You can do self soothing by engaging into activities that you find pleasurable, that help you relax, that help you calm down. Engage into hobbies, plug into some music, whatever helps you in that moment. um, or you can distract yourself. You can focus on neutral and positive things in your environment. This could be both internal and external in nature. So you can practice self care, you can listen to music, you can watch a movie or a series, you can journal, you can focus on your work, you can go out for a walk. Like some of you have already mentioned some of the strategies that help you stay distracted and self soothe yourself when you have that emotional imbalance that happens while you are overthinking. The next is practicing relaxation. While there are a lot of relaxation strategies for you to do, you can practice simple breathing exercises, you can do simple meditation, you can practice box breathing, muscle relaxation. But today, I would like to do a very quick breathing grounding exercise with you while we are in the session. So I'm going to play an audio that is going to help us practice a relaxation or breathing activity. And I want you all to make yourself comfortable, listen to the audio, and just follow the instructions. Let me know if you're able to hear the audio clearly. If not, I will try replaying it for you.
Grounding meditation is an exercise.
Can you all hear it? Can I have a heads up so I can continue further? You can hear it, right? Great. All right. Let's all do a very quick breathing exercise together.
Exercise that will help you feel calm and centered by enabling you to focus on all your senses. What you see, feel, hear, smell, and think. Close your eyes and rest your hands on your knees or thighs. Now, take a deep breath in. Hold it for a moment. Slowly, gently exhale and observe the air that flows out of your body through your nose. Let's try again. Breathe in slowly, and as you do so, feel the air filling up your lungs. And now, breathe out, allowing yourself to feel calm and relaxed. Slowly open your eyes, and with this feeling of calm, take a look around you. What do you see? You might see the road or a few trees, maybe some furniture. In your head, name any 5 things you can see around you. Now breathe in slowly and gently let the air out. Close your eyes. Focus on what you are feeling. Notice the touch of your body on your seat. You might notice the slightest breeze brushing against your skin. Try and name 4 things you feel. Breathe in slowly and gently let the air out. Now, shift your attention to the sounds around you. Notice 3 distinct sounds that you can hear. It could be the chatter of a distant conversation or the faint sound of the breeze. Just listen to these for a few moments. Breathe in slowly and gently let the air out. Now, let's try and notice 2 things that you can smell. Is it the smell of grass? Or maybe the faint smell of perfume? There is no right or wrong answer. Just try and notice what you can smell. Breathe in slowly and gently let the air out. Finally, take a moment to note one positive thing about yourself. One good quality or something that you did today that made you happy. If a negative thought arises, say, "Not right now." If nothing positive comes to mind, remember that you successfully completed this exercise. Finally, take a deep breath in. Hold it. And now, breathe out. Slowly and gently open your eyes.
All right. I hope that was relaxing and helpful. Can you all see the presentation again? Yes. All right. So moving on, the next simple thing or easy thing to also do is journal. Maintain a journal about your experiences, about your emotions, how you feel, what are your thoughts on a day-to-day basis when you encounter a difficult situation, when you have a conversation with somebody. It's always helpful to write down what your thoughts look like, because up here, when we are spiraling down or when we are overthinking, there are too many thoughts which we cannot make sense of, which and it becomes too chaotic here, where we are not able to understand what exactly is worrying me, what exactly I'm concerned about, what exactly these thoughts are about. So journaling, writing them down, helps you gain some clarity on your thoughts, helps you organize your thoughts better, so you're able to navigate through them in a more healthier manner. So journaling is a very powerful tool that can help you examine and work through your overwhelming thoughts and feelings. It could be thoughts that are anxious, that are just very repetitive in nature. And when we journal, we feel more empowered. We know exactly what is bothering us or what is it that has been worrying us, and we are able to take better action towards the same. So some of the journal prompts that you can use while you are maintaining a journal: start by understanding what's something that's made you anxious today. What about your day was empowering? What is one change you would like to bring in your morning or your night routine? And if there was no fear or anxiety that you were experiencing right now, what tasks would you engage in? So here are a couple of questions that you can use as your journal prompts and start writing down your emotions and your thoughts to get a better understanding about the same. Journaling usually helps. It helps you vent, it helps you express, it helps you gain clarity. Of course, journaling might not always be helpful to everybody, right? Some of us are not very keen on writing. Some of us don't find it comfortable to write because it feels that if I write down what I'm thinking and feeling, it becomes more real and we start feeling more overwhelmed about the same thing. But if journaling helps you, you can definitely use it. But if you feel it's not going to help you, you can use other strategies that we have been speaking about, right? So all the strategies that we discuss here, they might not all imply to everyone, right? They are very generic in nature. You need to see what suits the best for you, what works the best for you, and then engage into them. Moving on, restructure your thoughts, the way you think or perceive the situation. Start by questioning the validity of the thought that you're having. What is the probability that I am scared about will actually happen? So, my thought is, am I getting fired? Then let me question the validity of this thought. How likely is it that I can get fired? How, let me rate it, say, on a scale of 0 to 100. What is the percentage that I would like to give to this? What is the probability of it? Is it a 50% chance? Is it a 70% chance? Is it a 30% chance? So understand the validity of the thought that you have. Generate other interpretations for the situation or the thought. What else is more likely to happen? Or what else could this actually mean? So if my manager has dropped me a message saying, hey, Pratiksha, can we connect for 5 minutes? Maybe I need to understand as to, hey, is there something that she would want to discuss with me? It might not always be about a negative feedback. Maybe she wants to check on how I'm doing, or maybe she wants to give me another project that I can work on. So there could be multiple other interpretations of that message, and I need to look out for those interpretations and not just surround my thoughts over the worst case scenario. The next is rephrase the problem, right? Try to reframe your mistakes as learning opportunities. We are all not perfect. We will end up making mistakes, doing things in the wrong way, and that's okay. But when you're able to reframe and look at your mistakes as something that you learn from, something that helps you grow, something that helps you move towards your goal, it's always helpful. So instead of looking at your mistakes as a setback or the end, look at it as a small bump on the road rather than the dead end. Look for positives. Yes, there can be mistakes that you make. Not always situations are going to be favorable, but there are also going to be positive experiences that you might have around you. Might not be very big or not huge milestones that you would consider, but yes, there will be little things that are still positive in that difficult situation, and it's important to refocus our attention to the positive so that we don't get stuck with the worst case scenario. Make a plan of action towards what the positive outcomes could look like, right? Say, I have a call with my manager. Maybe she's going to give me a positive feedback about my performance. And I need to look at how I can use that positive feedback to grow, to upskill myself, to keep learning, and to keep kind of contributing to my work and my performance. Okay. Next is practice something called as the worry time. Now, worry usually has no limit, but worry time gives us a limit. It enables us to find solutions in a more organized manner. So, thoughts can probably come to us throughout the day, anytime, no matter what you do, no matter where you are. You might not always have control over these thoughts, and that's okay. But when I keep thinking about the same thoughts, when I keep worrying about problems, situations, and they start interfering with my day-to-day work, with my day-to-day tasks, where I'm not able to focus, concentrate, and be productive, that's when it becomes a problem. And that's when we need to start using something called as the worry time. So, worry time, simply put, is giving an appointment to your thoughts. It's like training your brain and teaching it that, hey, unwanted, unpleasant, unhealthy thoughts will not be entertained throughout the day. There is a fixed time of a day where I will pay attention to these thoughts and think about them in with and think about what I can do with those thoughts. So you set about a time each day, and the time limit is set about 20 minutes to half an hour and nothing beyond that. During the daytime, whenever you have any worrisome thoughts, you make a note of the thought on a piece of paper and tell yourself or remind yourself that I'm going to think about this thought in my worry time. Try to set the worry time somewhere at the end of your day, but also not very close to your bedtime. Add it to your to-do list that you have through the day and try and make it a consistent practice. When the worry time has arisen, when it's the time or the appointment for your thoughts, you take out that piece of paper and go through your worry one at a time and think or figure out possible solutions of addressing them. In that worry time, you focus more on the solutions rather than just going through what the worry is or restating the problem again and again. You do it in a more organized manner so that these unwanted, unpleasant thoughts do not interfere with your day-to-day activities or chores. The next is embrace uncertainties. A lot of times, situations, things are very unpredictable. We cannot be in control or certain about everything that's happening around us. So, acknowledging that certain uncertainties are beyond our control can give us a little bit of empowerment and understand that, hey, even if things are difficult and unclear and uncertain, we can still focus on other things that might be in our direct control. So learn to embrace uncertainty rather than being fearful and anxious about the same. Now, the next is hold yourself accountable. Own up to your own decisions while acknowledging your own limitations in addressing a problem or a difficult situation. We are all not superhumans. We have certain limitations in everything that we do. So, acknowledging our limitations, understanding that, hey, there is only limited things that I can do here is extremely important. I can only make a decision with the information available at the moment, right? That's an example. Whatever information you have in your hand right now, based on that, you're going to take certain actions or make certain decisions. That's the best that you can do given the situation and the circumstances. Progress is not perfection, right? So don't strive to be perfect. Don't strive to attain your perfect goal or a perfect decision. Like I was saying earlier, we are not perfect. We will end up making mistakes. We are not superhumans. We cannot do everything under the umbrella. We have our limitations physically, emotionally, intellectually, and we need to learn to acknowledge and embrace them, right? Be aware of the hindsight bias, right? So, a lot of times when we have made a particular decision, when, say, for example, my manager messaged me, Karisha, can we have a 5 minutes meeting? And I overthought, I put myself through a lot of overwhelming feelings for the next, say, half an hour. And when I connected with my manager, it was nothing, right? It was just a simple conversation where she wanted to check in with me, understand how work was going, understand whether I was comfortable, whether I needed anything, and that's all. And after that meeting is over, I'm going to question myself and say that, hey, I put myself through hell in the last 13 minutes and it was just a waste of time. So this is going to happen, right? Or, when we end up making a decision and that doesn't work out in our favor, we often beat ourselves up saying that, hey, I should have known that this decision is not going to work. But it's not possible. You couldn't have known better when you made that decision. So try and not to go back and think about, hey, why did I put myself through this? It was just for nothing. It was a waste of time. I should have known this better. So we tend to do this. So be aware that this is a phenomena that tends to happen with us, and try to stop yourself. The next one is developing acceptance, a simple strategy for developing emotional acceptance. So, okay, begin by observing your thoughts and physical sensations that you might experience through your body. So, every emotion that you experience might trigger certain physical sensations or bodily sensations in your body, right? So this exercise, the emotional acceptance exercise, can be done when you are having emotions that are too uncomfortable. And if you are somebody who's going to start this practice anew, afresh, start with simple emotions. Choose an emotion that is not too intense. Pick a time when you would want to do this exercise, or when you experience a strong emotion, or when you recognize that, hey, I am experiencing emotionally experiencing something, and I need to practice this little exercise. But don't do it if the emotions are too overwhelming, right? So the first one is identify your emotion. Now, it's important to identify what emotion you are having. If you're having more than one emotion, pick only one emotion, and then you can do the exercise further. If you're having trouble identifying the emotion, sit for a moment and pay attention to your physical sensations, your thoughts, and see if you can give your emotion a name. Say, for example, you're feeling sadness, you're feeling anger, you might be feeling guilt. So see if you can give a name or a label to your emotion. Once you have given a name to the emotion, write down that emotion on a piece of paper. Next is try getting some space from the emotion. Now that you have identified it, close your eyes if you feel comfortable, and imagine putting that emotion 5 feet in front of you. Imagine that just a few minutes are going to uh, it's going to take you some time. Say, imagine that you've placed the emotion at a little bit of distance from you, and you can look at it from a distance or from a space. So you need to space out from your emotion a little bit. um Later, you can also take it back. You can look at it more closer, but creating that initial space also helps in kind of addressing it in a more better manner. Once you have done that, give the emotion a form. Now that the emotion is in front of you at a little distance, close your eyes and say, answer these couple of questions. If you're, what emotion, what size you would want to give your emotion? What is the shape that you would want to give to your emotion? Or, what color would you want to give your emotion? Things like that. So give your emotion a size, a shape, and a color. Once you've answered this, once you've given it a size, a shape, and a color, imagine the emotion out in front of you in that size, shape, and color. So say, for example, the emotion I've identified is sadness. My sadness is about 5 centimeters. It's in the shape of a phone. It's in the shape of a square. It is blue in color. So I imagine exactly this picture in front of me, right? And whenever you are ready, you can then let the emotion return to its original place inside you. After you have done this exercise, reflect. Once you have completed the above steps, just take a moment to reflect on what you noticed during the above steps and about your experience. Did you notice any change in the emotion when you got a little distance, or when you changed the shape of it, the color of it, or what about the changes in the reactions to the emotions that you had or you were experiencing initially? So take a quick check and reflect on how the entire exercise made you feel. Did it feel different? Did it feel less overwhelming or less anxiety experience for you? Right. With this, we come to the end of the presentation, and I'm going to leave this platform for Q&A now, open for Q&A. So if anybody of you have any questions, concerns, any discussions that you would want to do, anything to contribute to this, feel free to put in your inputs in the chat or the Q&A section, and we can take that up. All right. Let me check with my team how we can share this deck and the strategies mentioned here, so you all can all use them as and how required. Yes, this webinar was recorded, and I will see how we can share the recording or the deck with all of you. I'll get my team to do that for you all. Any questions, any concerns, any experiences that you would want to share with us? What is the evidence that supports my belief? Can I have a little bit more understanding about this question? Can you elaborate what are you trying to really understand? No questions. All right. If there are no questions, we can then call it off for the day. Thank you all for being a part of this webinar today, and hope these simple strategies can help you manage through overthinking, reducing overwhelming and anxious emotions, and help you kind of have an emotional balance or equilibrium through your day. Thank you for your time. Thank you for joining in. Hope you all have a great day ahead, and hoping to connect with you all again with something new, something different that can help you on a day-to-day basis. Thank you all.